Someone across the room yawns. Within seconds, your own jaw starts to ache, your eyes water a little, and whether you want to or not, your mouth begins to open. You didn't decide to do that. Nobody asked if you were tired. You just saw a mouth wide open, and yours followed. It happens with a video of a yawn. It happens with a photo of a yawn. It can happen just from reading the word. Some of you are fighting one right now, a few paragraphs into this. For something this common, it's strangely hard to explain. Yawning by yourself is one mystery. Yawning because someone else did is a completely different one. And the answer runs straight through the wiring that lets you understand other people at all. Start by separating two things that look identical but aren't. The first is the ordinary yawn, the one you do alone. You're tired, you're bored, you just woke up, nobody's around, your body does it on its own. The second is the contagious yawn, the one that jumps from person to person. This one needs a trigger. It needs another yawner. You catch it the way you'd catch a laugh in a quiet room. These are not the same event. You can have one without the other. And it's the second kind, the catching, that's the real puzzle, because it means your brain is reacting to what's happening inside someone else's body. Roughly 40 to 60% of adults reliably catch yawns. The rest mostly don't. The split alone tells you something. This isn't a simple reflex like a knee jerk, which nearly everyone has. Whatever contagious yawning is, it varies from person to person, which means it's tied to something that also varies from person to person. For a long time, the popular explanation for yawning was oxygen. The story went like this. When you're tired or stuffy, your blood is low on oxygen and high on carbon dioxide, a yawn is a big, deep gulp of air that tops you back up. Everyone in a stuffy room gets low on oxygen at once, so everyone yawns around the same time, and it only looks contagious. It's a tidy explanation. It's also mostly wrong. Researchers tested it directly. They had people breathe air with extra oxygen, they had people breathe air with extra carbon dioxide. If yawning were about topping up oxygen, the amount of yawning should have shifted. It didn't. Breathing richer or poorer air didn't reliably change how much people yawned. The oxygen theory failed the one test that mattered. That left a gap. If yawning isn't about topping up your blood, and contagious yawning isn't just a room full of stuffy people yawning at once, then why does one person's yawn reach across a room and pull the yawn out of you? To get to the answer, look at something your brain does constantly without asking you. When you watch another person move, part of your brain quietly runs the same movement. Watch someone reach for a cup, and the reaching for a cup circuits in your own head flicker on. Not enough to move your arm, but enough to model what they're doing. Your brain understands their action by faintly rehearsing it. This is often credited to what are called mirror neurons, cells that fire both when you do something and when you watch someone else do it. The idea is that you make sense of other people partly by stimulating them inside your own head. You wince when someone stubs a toe. You lean when the bowling ball curves. You flinch at a punch in a movie. The science here comes with an asterisk. Researchers still argue exactly how much of this is mirror neurons, specifically versus a broader network. But the core observation isn't in doubt. Watching an action lights up the same machinery you'd use to perform it. Now point that machinery at a yawn. You see a mouth stretch open, jaw drop, eyes squeeze shut. Your brain does what it always does. It runs the motion to understand it. Except a yawn isn't like watching someone reach for a cup. When your brain rehearses a yawn, the rehearsal is strong enough to tip over into the real thing. You don't just model the yawn, you do it. Here's where the picture gets more specific and more interesting. If catching a yawn is about your brain simulating another person, then people who are better at tuning into others should catch yawns more easily. And that's roughly what a lot of research points to. Contagious yawning tends to track with social connection. You're more likely to catch a yawn from someone you're close to, a family member, a partner, a good friend, than from a stranger. The closer the bond, the easier the yawn jumps. Strangers pass it least. Loved ones pass it most. The timing in childhood fits too. Very young children don't catch yawns. The contagious version tends to switch on around age 4 or 5. Right around the same age, kids develop the ability to understand that other people have their own thoughts and feelings, separate from their own. That's not a coincidence anyone takes lightly. The machinery for catching yawns seems to come online alongside the machinery for understanding other minds. And it shows up at the other end too. Groups that tend to process social and emotional cues differently, including some people on the autism spectrum, often catch yawns less. The link isn't perfect or absolute, and researchers are careful about it, but the pattern keeps pointing the same direction. Contagious yawning rides on the same circuitry we use to connect with each other. This is the part most explanations skip, and it's worth keeping in. The empathy story is popular and well supported, but it isn't settled. Some careful studies have failed to find a clean link between how empathetic a person is and how easily they catch yawns. One large study found that a person's tendency to catch yawns is remarkably stable. Measure someone today and a year from now, and they catch yawns about the same amount. But it couldn't fully explain that tendency using empathy, intelligence, or even how tired people were. A big chunk of the variation stayed unexplained. Brain imaging studies are mixed as well. Some find the classic mirror and empathy regions lighting up during contagious yawns. Others find those exact regions staying quiet and point instead to a more automatic lower-level trigger, a kind of hair trigger imitation that fires before empathy ever enters the room. So the fully honest version is this: contagious yawning is clearly a form of automatic imitation, clearly tied to being a social species and clearly connected, at least loosely, to the systems we use to read each other. Exactly how much is empathy versus raw reflex is still being worked out. The mystery isn't fully solved, but the shape of it is clear. Step back from the wiring and ask what it's for, and a reasonable picture emerges. Contagious yawning shows up mainly in social animals: humans, chimps, wolves, dogs, some birds, creatures that live in groups. That's a clue. A behavior that spreads through a group tends to stick around when it helps the group in some way. One leading idea is synchronization. A yawn can spread a shared state through a group, nudging everyone toward the same level of alertness or rest at the same time. When one member's body signals winding down, and that signal quietly passes to the others, the group drifts into the same rhythm: sleep together, wake together, stay alert together. For animals whose survival depends on moving as a unit, a silent signal that syncs the group's internal clock is genuinely useful. It's communication without a sound, one body telling the others what state it's in and the others quietly matching it. That's the same signal running between you and the person across the room. Their yawn carried a small piece of their internal state, your brain picked it up and ran it, and your body matched it. An ancient group sync reflex still firing in a living room over a couch between two people who share nothing but the same old wiring. So the next yawn that catches you isn't random. And it isn't just tiredness in the air, it's your brain doing the thing it does all day without telling you, quietly running someone else's motion inside your own head, and this time, letting it through. You saw a mouth open, yours followed. That's the whole loop, and it's been running between members of social species for a very long time.